What's up, everyone? I'm Nick Campo. This is
Big Boss Ben.
Big Boss Ben. And this is the Lone Guys Podcast, brought to you from the new Campo Media Group studios. It is an absolute blessing to be here. Ben, how are you doing?
I'm doing good.
You know what I have to tell everyone?
What?
Bang that red subscribe button and turn on the notifications. That way you know every single time that we post a video. And if you don't already, follow us on NBI Financial Group on everything. If you are not on NBI Financial Group's pages, you won't know what's going on in mortgage and real estate. And if you don't know what's going on in mortgage and real estate, then guess what? You won't build wealth through real estate. And that's what we're trying to teach you to do.
You know what else they should do?
What's that?
Leave a comment.
Leave a comment, because if you bang that red subscribe button, if you turn on notifications, and if you comment on this video about something that you like and leave your Instagram handle, you have a shot to win a $100 Amazon gift card.
It's big money.
That's big money, and it might help keep those 18,000 employees that Amazon just laid off employed. You never know.
Hey, do your part, yeah.
We're just trying to keep American jobs. That's all we want to do here.
Absolutely. Unlike the Fed, but someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it. So, Ben, what do you got for me today?
So, got to give a shout out to our home here in the Charlotte market. It was recently named the #1 hottest housing market, according to Zillow, for 2023.
I could see that. The Charlotte market is absolutely huge.
Oh, it's booming.
Outside the Charlotte market into South Carolina is booming.
The Carolinas, yep.
The Carolinas in general are booming. We have an inventory shortage, which is what I keep telling my realtor partners. Hey, realtor partners, listen, here's the deal. If you have someone that wants to buy a house, now's the perfect time, because everyone's quote unquote afraid of interest rates. But guess what's been popping up again recently?
What?
Multiple offer transactions.
Right.
We're in January.
I have a client going through that right now. I know you just did as well.
I had 2 this week.
Yeah. 2
different, multiple, and it's typically in a certain price range, right? So if you can go above that, right?
Yeah.
To a price range, we'll say 600,000 to 700,000
right
and up. You're not getting that, and then you'll say anything below like probably 450, you're in danger.
You really are,
because
everyone's going for it,
and there's no inventory, and investors are going for it. First time home buyers are going for it, and the inventory is just not there. And guess what? We're projected to grow by another 40% in like 10 years or something.
It's wild.
Where are we going to put the people? We're going to need to build like bridges over roads.
I mean, even 2023, like everyone's over here saying, "Oh, it's going to decline." I mean, Charlotte itself is projected 11.8%. When I say everyone, I mean national media.
National media.
Mean, yeah.
Yeah. Big corporate media.
Yeah.
They're
what the everyday person sees.
Right.
I mean, and that's what we're here for, right? We're correct that narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte's expected to grow 11.8%, and increase amount of households by 6%.
Wow. I have a prediction.
What?
Charlotte's market will increase by more than 11.8% this year. Period.
Wow.
I mean, how can you not expect it to? Are interest rates going to come down at some point this year?
They will.
Okay, and then more people are going to want to buy?
Exactly.
So when interest rates are low, more
Yeah.
people are going to want to buy. We have an inventory shortage. We're already projected to be at 11.8% year over year. Yeah, I have a feeling that it's going to be more than 11.8%, because it doesn't seem like these housing wires, these national associations, these big people, it doesn't seem like they're accurate. They keep changing up on us. But the other thing is, I think you have to look at individual markets, right?
You do.
So national media is talking about overall in the United States, housing market could drop by 5%. Well, great. We're still at 45% over the last 2 years, right? Yeah. I'll take my 45% gain. But
even then, nationally, still projected to increase, 3 to 6%. Like,
right.
I mean, so you're right. It definitely is regionally based, but at the same time, like even nationwide, it's a healthy market.
Very healthy market. It's going to stay a healthy market because we are not going into a depression. It is a recession,
right,
and interest rates are going to come down. They just want you all to stop spending money, man. We got to stop being drunken sailors and pop, 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 pop. We have to stop spending money.
We do.
But is it
stop
us?
printing money?
Is it us or is it them spending the money? That's the question. The $1 million question.
Right.
Yeah, man, I absolutely love the Charlotte market. If you're in the Charlotte market and you're looking for a mortgage and investment property, first-time home buyer, anything of that nature, we can do it. We've done it very efficiently for the past 12 months. We are very good at what it is we do.
We are.
What do you think about, speaking of the Charlotte market, this studio's in the Charlotte market. What do you think about our new studio?
Looks good.
I love it.
Very sharp.
It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And we got this table. We can put a little liquor bottle on there and spin it around.
Although I will say there was something classy about the brick wall.
The brick wall we will go back to eventually.
Yeah.
That's classy, right?
I agree.
But this is way classier. This looks professional. It was done professionally. It's like reclaimed barnwood. I absolutely love it. I love the new table. And we needed to change the studio anyways.
We did.
We couldn't keep it in the same location. This makes things a lot easier.
And we brought it to home in the office. I mean,
we what?
So we brought it to its home in the office.
Yes, its home is in the office now. So
absolutely.
What else you got for me?
So, well, we were talking about the hottest markets too. I think that's kind of interesting to go over some of the coldest real estate markets according to Zillow.
Can I guess?
Go for it.
Los Angeles, California. It's not on the list. Okay.
San Jose is.
San Francisco.
Yes.
And
Sacramento.
And Sacramento. So
both right there.
Right
Bay
there.
Area.
Bay Area. Oakland.
No.
No one ever bought in Oakland. Anyways.
Well, I mean that's Bay Area too, though. But
okay, so Bay Area. Let's see. How many are we guessing? 10?
There's 2 more.
2 more. Chicago.
No.
New York.
No.
Well, go ahead.
What will surprise you? So Minneapolis.
That makes sense.
The other one that may surprise you, Denver.
Makes sense though.
So, but you know what else they have in common?
Terrible. Oh, they abolished their police forces. That Minneapolis abolished their police force.
I mean, yeah, we weren't getting into politics, but
that's not politics. That's stupidity.
Yeah.
I mean,
but what else they had in common? They did not hit that subscribe button.
So bang that red subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you can see everything that we have to say and know whenever that we upload a video.
That's right.
And follow me personally on all of my social media pages, Czar of Mortgage, and Big Boss Ben on all of his social media pages. That's Instagram, yes. Twitter, TikTok, Cash App if you want to send them some money.
Facebook.
LinkedIn, Facebook, anything that you can possibly think of. And back to the show. So what do they all have in common?
What? Not only did they not subscribe, they also have rent caps.
Oh, we're getting into the second topic. So here's the deal. I also want to say this. So they have rent caps.
Yes.
So you don't want to talk politics, but they all have. I'm being serious. So you don't want to talk politics. You want to talk why people are fleeing these cities. I'm surprised. LA not being on the list is surprising.
Yeah.
But when I watch the temperature in the country and what is going on, what I see is those cities. Name them again. What were the cities with the worst real estate markets? Projected real estate markets.
San Jose,
California.
Sacramento,
California. San Francisco, California.
Minneapolis,
Minnesota.
And Denver.
Colorado.
Right.
They're all blue cities.
Yeah.
And people will be like, oh, well, all the big cities are blue cities. But, like, they're progressive blue.
Right.
I'm not talking about your typical Democrat, your middle-of-the-road Democrat. I'm talking about progressive blue cities. They put these progressive policies in. I bet you their homeless rate is skyrocketing. Their crime is skyrocketing. Let's use San Francisco for an example. Do you know that CVS's and Walgreens and stores like that have literally had to shut down because you're allowed to steal up to $900 worth of material and not get prosecuted for it? And anyone who says, oh, this is a conspiracy, it's not a conspiracy. I can pull up the Wall Street Journal. I can pull up the New York Times. Actually, Google that.
That is wild.
Google, can you steal in San Francisco? Right? And this is not a political show, but that does have an effect on the policy or on the housing market in a city, right? If you can't police your own city and make sure that people are safe and stores aren't going to get robbed from, what businesses are going to want to move in there?
That's
what? Read it.
Yeah.
What's it say?
San Francisco has become a shoplifter's paradise. Walgreens, for example, has closed 22 stores in the city where thefts under $950 have been decriminalized. That was Wall Street Journal.
Wall Street Journal. Okay. So Wall Street Journal, pretty reliable source, I'd say, right?
Yeah.
Find some other sources, because let's talk about this, because does this affect your home values? Because people who you vote for does affect your home values. And I'm probably I am not a political person. I'm political in the sense of I don't believe in big government, or really any government. You should have police forces. You should have, public transportation. You should have public roads and bridges and, all that good stuff that comes from public policy. But the fact that we have these big governments and mayors making laws, and DAs not prosecuting laws that were in there, we have laws for a reason. We're a country that's 250 plus years old, but let's not go down too far down that aisle. I'm sure you all have your own opinion on that, but that does affect your home value, right?
Oh, it does.
What are some of the other sources?
I mean, not even that. I mean, just going off of this one article, like Walgreens closed 22 stores in the city.
How many jobs is that?
Exactly. I mean, it's jobs. It's the overall economy. And
if you want to see something wild,
yeah,
the reason I said LA is because of Skid Row. Go on YouTube and type in Skid Row video and just look at it, man. It's like a homeless society. And everybody wants to feel bad for the homeless and say this, that, and the other thing. I agree, have some empathy, but most of it is mental illness and drug problems, right?
Yes.
Why are we not treating the causes?
Exactly. Give the people help of what they need to.
But this also goes back,
problem.
Right. So this also goes back to real estate.
Well,
if you have a home that's near downtown LA that's close to Skid Row or whatever, do you think that type of thing, I'm talking miles of homeless people, needles everywhere, feces in the street, because let's talk about what really happens in these cities who have these policies and how it affects home values, right?
Right.
And we're about to talk about another policy, but let's talk about these policies that we already know about, right? What happens is, instead of treating the problem, and the problem is the mental illness and the drug habits, instead of putting policy in place to help those people and treat those problems, or if they keep doing what they're doing, like pissing and shitting in the streets, putting them into a facility because they're committing a crime, and just so you know, that can cause diseases. Seriously. It could, yeah. And Google this. This is wild. This is another, either Wall Street or CNN, or somebody did this. Skid Row in LA, disease runs rampant. Just Google that real quick. Because this is a true story I think that people need to know about and could happen to a city near you. LA, one of the most beautiful cities ever. Everybody wanted to live in LA, right? All the movie stars, you got the beautiful hills, Beverly Hills, and they're look at the U-Haul trucks and the amount of people who are leaving. San Francisco is losing tech company after tech company after tech company. California thought it was invincible because they had a gross GDP bigger than some countries.
It's called the typhus zone.
Typhus. What year are we in? So do you think that affects your home value?
Oh, absolutely.
What source was that?
I mean, this is NBC.
NBC. So NBC, another outlet that is known to lean left, is saying, hold on. In LA, we have the typhus zone. What year is it? When was the last? Isn't that like, I'm surprised the bubonic plague's not going on, right? That affects your home values. Do you want to have good home values? Well, the people you vote into office who allow this stuff to happen, who don't prosecute, who don't arrest people, who don't solve the issue. Dude, and here's the other piece. They're talking about taking abandoned homes and turning them into, let the homeless people live there. Well, they tried that in LA. Google this. Google that. You probably didn't know any of this was going on, did you?
What?
The stuff I'm telling you. Did you know
I didn't know about the typhus, no.
You didn't know about typhus? So I follow markets pretty closely.
Yeah.
But you have to follow what's actually going on. You can't just speculate, that looks good, that doesn't. You have to dig in. And when I have NBC, CNN, the Wall Street Journal telling me all this craziness is going on, you can literally rob up to $950 or $900, whatever it was, and not get arrested. Why would you not?
Hold on. The life of
you need to say
Skid
the source.
Row life expectancy. The life expectancy of people in this area is 48 years old.
What source? You have to say the source, because then people will call you conspiracy theories if they think that you're reading some right wing or super far left or some conspiracy theory website. If they think you're reading the Black Raven.
I mean, this is Google, like, hold on, let me open up.
Say the source on this show, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to ever be confused for somebody who's a conspiracy theorist. I'm going to be what you call a realist, right? And realist is places like Skid Row, San Francisco with their rob everything policies. Who else is there? I don't know much about Denver, but I know Denver was talking about abolishing the police force. Google Minneapolis abolishes police force. Do you know who likes to live in nice houses?
Who?
People who have everybody, first off. Everybody likes to live in nice houses. We get it. But what I'm getting at is, and what I was trying to say was, houses stay nice and values go up when people with some wealth move into areas. People with wealth a lot of times are hardworking or working class families, right? Maybe upper middle class in some cases, but middle class and up, right?
Right.
Now, we want to get the lower class opportunity as well, but I think that we all need to understand something. Homeownership's a responsibility. It's your responsibility for the upkeep. So, I'm going to use myself as an example. I have a young family. I have a wife, a kid, and another one on the way, right? And we do pretty well. And I would consider us middle class to upper middle class. So we buy a house in a nice neighborhood just outside of Charlotte, right? If Charlotte and the surrounding areas started allowing looting at the local CVS, people just to sit and not get arrested when they're taking shits in the street, like literally feces, crapping, pooping, whatever you want to call it, in the street, that would probably do what? Affect my home values. Also, when the DAs go to prosecute, the laws, like the no bail laws like New York has, that just let them out, that you're creating some lawlessness. People aren't afraid of the consequences, right? Society, you have to have rule of law. Now, I'm not saying go overboard, and this is probably the most you'll hear me speak for this. I'm not saying go overboard, but you have to keep the general public safe. Do you think I'm going to want my kids playing outside if Skid Row is right there and people are crapping in the streets and there's feces and needles and the life expectancy is 48 years old? I don't want my kids around that. Right. I don't want them to see it. I don't want to have to drive through it because it's not safe. This false narrative that they told us about, oh, the poor homeless, they're just down on their luck. That's not the case, though. A lot of times it's drug abuse and a lot of times it's mental illness. That needs to be treated. But a lot of times, true story, saw somebody hit somebody in the head, saw a homeless person hit a non-homeless person who was giving them a sandwich in the head with a freaking brick in New York City when I was about 12 years old, right? That got cleaned up and the city thrived. You have to clean that stuff up because me with a young family, do you think I'm going to live in an area like that? No. How's that affect real estate? Let me finish my thought. How's that affect real estate?
Yeah.
How's it affect real estate? I'm asking you. If I'm not going to live, if somebody like myself with a young family...
it deteriorates values.
It deteriorates values.
Causes people want to move to Charlotte.
So what do those 5 cities have in common? Terrible leadership. I don't care what side of the aisle you sit on, terrible leadership. And on the other side of the aisle, people like Mitch McConnell, terrible leader. I'm talking about, man, it just drives me nuts. So let's talk about the next policy so we can get into how more policy is going to affect your real estate values, is going to affect your cost of living, is going to affect how much money is being transferred from the working class people up to corporations.
Well, I mean, just adding to what you were saying too, like what the business is leaving, like what business wants to be there? That's people's jobs.
And guess what happens then? Jobs leave.
Exactly.
And when jobs leave, Google how many tech companies have left California. Those are 100,000 plus. Those are high paying jobs. Google that real quick, because I think that we need to have a little bit of reckoning as a nation. We are a real estate and mortgage podcast, or a mortgage and real estate podcast. However you want to look at it, we're the loan guys. And if you haven't done it yet, bang that red subscribe button, turn on your notifications. And on January 31st, we're giving away a $100 Amazon gift card. If you bang that red subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and comment your thoughts on this video. And at the end, leave your Instagram handle. If you do all that, you have a shot to win $100. Boom. Ben, how many tech companies have left California?
352 companies have moved their headquarters out of the state of California between 2018 and 21, including names such as Oracle, Tesla, Charles Schwab, etc.
Pretty big companies with high-paying jobs are leaving California. So one more time, what do you think that does to home values?
Oh, deteriorate. I mean, people go where the jobs are.
People go where their jobs are, and the wealthy do what? They fix up their homes.
Yes.
And when I say wealthy, middle class up, fix up their homes. They do a good job with them. They take care of them. And I'm not saying all the lower class or people who don't have money don't do that, because a lot of them do. But a lot of them don't. And a lot of times you get into these areas where the policy is really bad. And what do those 5 cities have in common? Terrible policies. What else do they have in common?
I mean, rent control.
Rent control. Terrible policy.
Yeah.
I want to hear your thoughts on the rent control. I want to hear what it is, what you saw, and what you're looking at, and what your thoughts are on it.
I mean, it's ask any economist out there. It is not a good idea. It hurts absolutely everyone. I mean, it hurts the homeowner, because the investor who has the rental property, because it limits what they can do. It's the rent control isn't based off of their expenses. It's based off of outside factors that don't support that. And what happens to landlord, like to investors in the area, they're not going to want to invest in long-term rental properties, right? They're going to want to invest in other things. What it's going to do is going to limit the amount of available properties out there for rent. So anything that's outside of a rent control is going to absolutely skyrocket. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, not only is the landlord hurting, but the renter is going to hurt too. It actually is going to hurt the tenants. I just,
unless
there's no upside.
Unless, hear me out here.
Yeah.
Unless you're subsidized housing.
Yes.
Then it won't hurt you.
But that's different. That's not what they're talking about.
They are in some articles.
Okay.
Well, okay. So that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about capping the rent prices on everything, which is going to do what? Cause people to sell because it's no longer profitable.
Correct. They're going to convert to commercial, whatever.
Okay.
They're going to find ways around it.
Okay, great. Maybe. Or they're going to move to cities that don't have that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So one of the two is going to happen. They're either going to turn that into commercial, which I don't think they'll do. And let me get into this.
Yep.
So they're either going to turn it to commercial and rent it to businesses, or they're going to sell it because they can no longer make a profit. They're going to take the cash or the profit that they've already made, and they're going to go find more cities that have friendlier policies to their businesses, which is in this case landlord, right? And friendlier policies to big business, right?
Well, that is what has historically happened,
right? So that's historically happened forever. So hear me out here. So if these landlords are selling and moving, right?
Right.
And someone's buying these up, or they can't make a profit, which means they can no longer pay the mortgage or whatever the bills are on it, they're going to lose those properties. Something's going to happen when those properties are no longer in their possession. At the same time, if a certain small number keep them and capitalize in the short term by the booming rent prices, then what's going to happen? It's going to become more expensive for a business to operate their business in that area because they have to pay a wage that is closer to cost of living, and cost of living is going to go up for the people working at those businesses with higher incomes, right?
Right.
So those businesses are then going to move to an area that maybe the cost of living isn't as much. They can make the same profit, but pay somebody a reasonable wage that they can survive on. So now the businesses leave there, right?
Right.
So now that person who capitalized in the short term off the higher rent prices now no longer has anybody who can afford that house, so they're either selling the home, maybe taking a loss, but who is buying, right?
And I agree with you, but what happens when it's on a national scale?
Stop. Let me get to this.
Okay.
Let me get this thought out, right? And you want to keep jumping ahead. Let's explain it to people who don't understand. You want to jump to the conclusion. There's steps in between, right? So step one is you pass this policy. Nothing's going to happen right away. People are going to start realizing over the next, say, 12 months or so, what's step two? People are either going to sell or they're going to hang on because they can recognize a short-term profit, right? Yes. So they sell, some of them, and they take those profits and they move to someplace with a more reasonable policy.
Right.
It doesn't have to be the United States. There's other places with property rights.
Yes.
The United States isn't even top 10 in property rights at this point. Did you know that? Google top countries with top property rights.
Are up there. Them in Canada. Canada's up there.
Google it right now. Okay. Countries with top. See, you like to guess. I like to look at facts. So, number 2 is they move to places with more, or they put their money into something else. Maybe they put it into IRA, but their money is no longer in those properties. So those properties are sold, and those properties are going to probably not make a profit. But what is going to be profitable is the subsidized housing and subsidized housing. We'll just call it that. Number 3 is the people who hung on for the short term are going to jack their rent prices up because they're going to have a nicer property, so on and so forth, right?
Right.
Number 4, the businesses that are in that area can no longer operate at the same profit margins as they want to operate at because now they have to pay their employees who can to be able to afford decent living arrangements, decent quarters, correct?
Correct.
Most businesses pay salary based off the area and the cost of living in an area, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. So those businesses won't want to pay that anymore, so then they'll move to an area where it's more what? Cost effective. And we watch this happen with our factories, especially here in the American South. How many factory towns are pretty much shut down?
I mean,
a lot.
Look at where we went to college.
Right. 100%.
Clinton, South Carolina.
So those properties are all going to do what? Those companies are all going to leave. And then that person who hung on to their property, who was getting a high rent because there was less availability, as you stated,
yep,
will then either not be able to afford that property anymore and it will be taken from them, whether it's through tax liens or mortgage foreclosures. They could try to turn it into a commercial property, but who wants to do business there, right? Maybe J.C. Penney?
Right.
Probably not. Or those properties are going to be out of their hands, though, right?
Right.
So then it's going to go into affordable subsidized housing. So who controls that? HUD, correct?
Correct.
So now the government has just taken your property from you through a series of steps. That could happen, or big corporations could buy those properties up and get incentives from the government to control those properties. Either way, it's either corporatism or it's socialism. But one of the two are happening, and it's socialism on a big scale. Some social programs are good, I understand. But do you get what I'm saying?
I do.
So that is not good for anybody, right?
Right.
So,
yeah. And I mean, I said this earlier, like, look at history. Like, I mean, every time any sort of rent-controlled initiative has gone out there, and it's that area, it's negatively affected it.
The reason I talk about the area.
Yeah.
The reason I talk about the area is because you cannot do this on a national scale.
I agree.
The Supreme Court will not allow it. It won't happen. It's just not going to happen. It's going to get tied up. He's going to get sued.
Like, it shouldn't happen. Yeah.
It's going to. They're going to sign an executive order. Oh, we're for the working class. That ain't for the working class,
no,
folks.
It's hurting. San Francisco passed the rent control initiative in 1994.
Right.
What ended up happening? 15% decline in available homes for rent.
Right.
We're already in an issue with vacancy. We're already in a historically lows for vacancy factors. There's a shortage out there, which we have talked about numerous times. A 15% decline in that, what is that going to do? Like that is going to absolutely destroy the rental market.
It's going to drive prices up and up and up and up.
Right.
And it's going to talk about the wealth gap then, right? Everyone wants to always talk about the wealth gap.
Yes.
You're going to destroy the wealth gap, which is going to destroy sections of cities' real estate values.
Right. And not only that, what are landlords going to do in terms of money they're putting back into it?
Less money back into it because they have to make a profit.
Look at Los Angeles right now. You see all these rundown apartment buildings. Why is that? It's because they can't charge what they need to keep it in actual great order like the tenants deserve.
I grew up in an area like that, a bunch of 2-family homes, right? And it was a bunch of landlords who owned them.
Right.
And a lot of it was Section 8. They got designated Section 8, right? So the government was sending them, say, $1,000 per unit.
Right.
And they're like, oh, this is great. and then they would move to Florida to retire or whatever, and they just wouldn't take care of it. And you've been to where I grew up, and you drive down, there's one street, I'm not going to say the street, but there's one street in the city that you drive down as you first enter the city, and it looks like a war zone.
Yeah.
Does it not?
It does.
So, I mean, it's absolutely insane. And you look at these areas, and then you're like, what the hell's going on? Right? And it's just so funny to me, man, that people just think that, hey, we're going to have the government control the housing market. We're going to have the government control rent prices. We're going to have the government control this. We're going to have the government control that. The biggest problem is you need to create competition.
Yes.
Competition drives price down. That's less restriction.
Right.
The more the government gets involved, the worse off you get, right? The more rules there are, typically the worse off it is.
You want to understand anything in life, look at supply and demand. Like, really, like you're saying competition. Why is that good? Because there's more of a demand out there, or more supply, out there.
Right.
Like,
well, and then also
there's more options, but it makes them have the incentive to put extra work in.
Makes a better product.
Exactly.
You have to have a better product. So when there's more supply because of competition, but the barriers,
it's better for the consumer.
But the barriers to entry have to be lowered, right?
Yeah.
So you put rent caps in, you're increasing the barriers to entry.
Yes.
Because in order to be profitable renting a home, you would need to have a more expensive home.
Right.
Which fewer people can afford.
With more maintenance costs.
Correct. But at the end of the day, you're having to buy a higher price house, right?
Yeah.
Just to get in. And then at the end of the day, that if you're a first-time home buyer, there's certain neighborhoods you're not going to want to buy in because they've now become run down because whatever the reason is. And it's a troubling thing that they want to put rent controls in. And it speaks to everything we spoke about leading up to their new policies that they're talking about doing.
Right.
And now the Biden administration might sign this in as an executive order.
Right.
As soon as next week.
For those who don't know, the White House announced today that there is an initiative, and I'll say exactly what it's called. The Blueprints for Renters' Bill of Rights. So what they're kind of trying to spin it as is saying, it's going to help lessen restrictions on what renters can get properties, get more people into homes. At the end of the day, though, even the first sentence of their actual proposal mentions 3 times housing costs.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end, that's what the real goal is by this bill. It's to reduce the cost of rents, limit what landlords can do.
There's certain cities that already have that.
Oh, there are.
And you can be grandfathered in to certain rents.
Yeah.
Like New York City, right? Like if you're renting a unit
right
in a place, like it's just weird rules.
And it's great if you're like that for the first few years, but guess what happens? The building starts deteriorating. They don't have the money to fix it up.
Or they aren't willing to spend the money. They probably are still making a profit, but they're not going to be willing to spend their entire profit and just net.
Exactly, because then they wouldn't make any profit at all, and why are they even doing it?
Right.
That's the thing. Like the cost isn't going to. The cost is always going to get worked out in the end. Like business people will find a way, and that's their job.
If they can't find a way there, then they're gone.
Exactly.
So they will. Their way might be no longer being there.
Exactly.
Right.
They're not going to sit there and just lose money.
No.
I mean, why would anyone do that?
No one does that.
And I don't understand why the government thinks that people will just do that.
And making money is not a bad thing.
No, not at all.
Like, so that's the common thing that's going on right now too. Like, landlords are so bad. Look at how much they're charging. Look at this. Look at that. But do you talk about the price of everything else going up? Let's talk about inflation. Homeowners insurance has gone up. The cost to deliver materials to fix the property has gone up. Everything has gone up. Management companies have gone up. The price of everything has gone up. Don't get mad at the landlord. They're making money. Get mad at what caused inflation. It's the printing of money.
It's the $1.75 trillion bill they just passed to increase spending.
That and shutting the government down for 18 months in some places, or shutting supply chains down.
Right.
China just opened their supply chain, and now people are like, oh, is this going to cause more inflation? No. Hopefully it puts more supply back into the marketplace.
Right.
So, you can even look at the Ukraine-Russia war. It's causing a fuel shortage, which caused inflation. There's a lot of things that went into it, but I can tell you this. People didn't just start jacking up rent prices for no reason.
Yeah. No.
So
because the cost of houses went up, like the cost of everything went up.
Everything went up, so rent prices went with it.
Their expenses, yeah. I want to end this with a quote. This is by an economist named Asar Lindbeck. Said, next to bombings, rent control in many cases is the most efficient technique so far to destroy a city.
It's almost like they're doing it on purpose.
That was a quote by an economist back in 1977. This information has been out there for years.
Send that to me. Email that to me. That's going on my personal page. It's just absolutely wild to me. But man alive. You got anything you want to say to the people?
Yeah. I mean, do your own research. Actually look into things. Don't just take media headlines. Don't take the easy answer of, oh, lower rent. That's a good thing. Because there's always other pieces to it. And look at the big picture and how it's going to affect things.
And then look who benefits from it too.
Yes. Right. And look who actually benefits to it. You think, oh, it's the landlords who's losing out. No, it's not. It's
you, the landlord, everybody but the politician loses.
And the big corporations who are going to scoop up, buy everything and pennies on the dollar.
Right. And then they're going to lobby to have the law change, and they're going to own it all.
Right.
And so when it's around and around and around we go, oh, lower rent prices. Yay, yay, yay. Let's vote for this politician. Yay, yay. Joe Biden's so great. Lower rent prices. The renter's blueprint. What was it? The Renter's Bill of Rights. The blueprint of the Renter's Bill. It's a fancy name. And usually when there's a fancy name, guess what, Ben? It's a bad deal for the people. So what will happen is, number one, the Bill of Rights for renters will come out. It'll be signed an executive order. Number two, then what's going to happen if it goes through and gets past Supreme Court, which it won't. Those houses are going to be sold. They're going to get decreased in value. Rent prices are actually going to go up. Just look at what were the cities you named. There was 5 cities. Was it San Jose, San Francisco, Colorado, Minneapolis, and Sacramento?
Yes.
Look at those 5 cities with rent control, right? Then look at the quote about blowing up cities. You might as well just put rent control, and then you don't have to sort of infrastructure. And then when all those people who own those homes, who are renting them at maybe not reasonable, but closer to reasonable prices, guess what will happen then? Then the corporations will come buy them up. Then the corporations will pay lobbyists to go to Washington to change the law to get rid of those rent controls. And then they'll make a massive profit. And then that means your wealth was just exchanged hands to go to the top 1% in the world.
Here's another case study. Exactly what you were saying. Cambridge, Massachusetts, 1970, they expanded their rent control.
Right.
The housing market in that area shrunk by 10%.
Boom! That's huge.
In 1995, they removed the rent control. Guess what happened? Led to a 20% increase in the housing, and construction spending doubled. That market boomed. But guess what happened to the people who scooped up there and bought it when everything shrunk? They made out.
It's almost like these booms and busts are planned, like they're manufactured. I don't know if they are, but it feels like
it. That is one law that was just put into a place and removed, and that is, millions of dollars.
Yeah, millions. What goes in, it comes out. So we go through periods of up and downs in this country, and I think that we're going through a little bit of a down period, and we have a little bit further to go. The experiment isn't quite yet over. I will say that San Francisco just voted somebody from the other side of the aisle in, from my understanding, and they're putting in cop robots. It's going to be
oh my God.
Seriously, look it up. That's true.
RoboCop?
No, look it up. Look up San Francisco votes in robotics cops. And it's scary as hell. Right? Like,
what is this, turning into iRobot?
It feels like it. What's it say?
San Francisco voted Tuesday to put the brakes on it.
They did put the brakes on it? Good. What source is that?
NPR.
Not a huge NPR guy.
I just pulled the first article up.
Yeah.
But it's a policy that would let police use robots for deadly force.
They're going to still use the robots, though. So get rid of the NPR. Get like a reliable source, like a big media. I'm not saying that big corporation media is reliable, but I'm saying like get a source that.
New York Times.
Okay. New York Times. What's it say?
Oh, let me. San Francisco backtracks on plan to allow police robots to use deadly force.
But they're going to still allow police robots.
Yeah, every article says to use deadly force in it. So,
yeah, so
that means that they're still going to use the robots,
which is wild.
Oh, and even CBS says for now.
For now. Who do we riot if a police robot kills somebody? Don't answer that question. But go ahead and bang that red subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and if you haven't done so already, comment on this video. We want to know your thoughts. I'm sure some of you will call me stupid. I'm sure some of you will say I'm out of touch with reality. I see you TikTok users who have done that to me, but guess what? You're watching a 3-minute clip. You aren't watching this full podcast. So you need to watch this full podcast, comment your thoughts, bang that red subscribe button, turn on the notifications, and at the end of your comment, if you leave your Instagram handle, you have an opportunity to win $100 Amazon gift card. What's up?
Forward thinking to 2023.
Yeah.
So there's been some articles out there that are all over the place. I see a bunch. I mean, we just talked about how Charlotte was expected to grow 11.2% in 2023.
Right.
Yeah. There's a Housing Wire article that I know you were just reading that was talking about how pessimistic it's looking. Mm-hmm. Like, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are they're wrong. One of two things is going to happen. They have to put us in a recession if they want interest rates. Well, okay. Let me go back. Let me backtrack. If they're in such a conundrum right now.
They are.
You drive us into a recession, interest rates drop, you're going to drive inflation in housing again because we have a lack of inventory. And I feel like the easy answer of what's going to happen is, okay, we're going into recession. We have a slowing of the economy, manufacturing this, that, and the other thing, and that's what they're doing. So interest rates will drop, but they haven't resolved the inventory issue. How about create some incentive for home builders?
Right.
Right?
Right.
Create incentive for that. Create incentive to work and build the houses, right? Because we have an inventory issue. I've said a million times since 2017, there are 3 million more families in this country today than in 2017. On top of it, you have first-time or household formations, like family formation, household formations. That's up, which is first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
You have baby boomers who are the biggest generation, not ready to move out of their houses yet. And then you combine Gen Z and millennials. Average age of a first-time home buyer is 33 years old. So that's millennial, some Gen Z is trying to buy. You combine that generation, it's huge, right? So they're looking to buy their first homes. Baby boomers aren't moving, and there's 3 million more families. And then guess what? Lumber supply burned up. Supply chains were shut down. We have a housing crisis.
We do.
In the sense of there's not enough houses. Stop inflation. Let's build more houses. One. And I'm not talking like crappy little throw them up. Build some nice houses. I'm first time starter homes. People need starter homes, right? Now, here's the other piece is, so I think they're way off. So I think they're in a pretty tough position. Go ahead.
I'm about to say, you said it yourself, like in terms of like the price point, like look at where, because clients like looking for a $700,000 house in this market aren't having much problem.
No,
but you go to the 350,000, 450,000, bidding wars.
Right.
It's absolutely insane. So that price point is a desperate need for more supply.
Huge need. It's a massive need for more supply. And what's going to happen is if they drive us into a recession, interest rates go down, housing prices go up, inflation goes up, right? Because housing costs will go up.
Right.
Because housing costs will go up because the cost of the house is going to be more. But if the interest rate's down, maybe that eases the tension on inflation just a little bit. But how low are you going to get the interest rate? So now you're playing this balancing act of what's the Fed going to do?
Right.
And the Fed isn't very quick to react.
Dude, it is so wild. I was actually listening to a mortgage coach podcast. And he was saying,
shout out Dan Savage.
Yeah, but they were saying like it's so weird that actually feeling like you have to pull for people to get unemployed because that's the only way the Fed's going to start changing things.
Right.
And like you never want to pull for someone to lose their job, but at the end of the day too, if the Fed keeps raising rates like they are, it's only going to end up worse.
They have to stop raising rates.
Yeah.
And everybody in mortgage who has a brain is saying it. Stop. Because you are causing Barry Habib today. Recession all around us.
It's just such a wild market with them artificially manipulating.
But think about it. Some of the biggest names in this industry, Barry Habib and Dan Savage, are those not two of the biggest names in the industry?
Probably the biggest too. Like in terms of market.
From a public standpoint too, and people knowing who they are. Not saying smart. I'm saying biggest names.
Yes.
But to me, people I truly respect, who I know what they're doing, right? They don't know me, but I watch them. I see what they're doing. They inspire me. They're a little bit older than us.
Yeah.
They inspired us to start this podcast.
Yeah.
To get the real information out to people, because real information is not getting to people in the mortgage industry, right? And so you got Barry Habib. You got Dan Savage. Awesome. Like, I'm glad that they're putting this information out and they're pulling the CPI numbers. I am so much smarter when it comes to mortgage, and I feel like I'm so much more ahead of the curve because of the amount of knowledge I gained from watching Dan Savage and Barry Habib. And then it forced me to go get smarter myself, right?
Right.
They're both saying the same thing.
Oh, they are.
They're saying the same thing. And those are two of the most respected people. You look at some big economists as well who know what they're doing, criticizing the Fed. I was watching NBC the other day. And one of those money talk shows. I forget which one it was, but I'm interested to see what's going on. And you see you see this big economist come on and just blister the Fed, basically saying they don't know what they're doing. And then you look at how this Fed's performing compared to the Fed in the 80s when we were trying to get out of that inflation. Polar opposites. One did a fantastic job, one did a terrible job. I don't understand it. They're going to put us into a deep recession if they don't stop raising the interest rates. They have to. And it's like you're rooting for people to lose their jobs, because if you root for the government to stop printing money, which helps cause inflation.
Right.
If you root for something like that, or for world economies to open back up to flood the market with supplies, so you have more supply and demand goes down, or if you're rooting for that, you just know it's not going to happen because the government isn't efficient. They aren't smart. They don't see what's going on. And the Fed just doesn't stop printing money to hand to the government to send to Ukraine. And I also understand, listen, there's a lot of stuff going on overseas and with that war, and why you want to help and why you don't want to help or whatever, right? But at the end of the day, you can't root for the printing of money to stop because it's not going to.
Right.
You can't root for supply chains to open back up because they for China opens back up and then they go back to COVID zero policy and it's back and forth, right? And China supplies a lot of the world's supply chain and manufacturing and things of that nature. We don't have the factories here that we used to have. So you have to root for people to lose their jobs so that the Fed stops. But the problem with the Fed is they aren't even picking apart the numbers. Pick apart the numbers.
Yeah.
When there's less unemployment claims or less jobless claims.
Yeah.
So meaning there was more jobs in possession.
Right.
Like more people had jobs.
Right.
And the number changes, but the amount of hours that they're working goes down. It means they're working part-time jobs because they've probably lost their jobs, which means we're in a recession.
Yeah.
So it's just, I think it's absolutely, wild. Absolutely wild. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts, Ben?
I mean, I agree with you. I mean, it's just so weird being in an artificially manipulated market, like, because you say, oh, it can be great because you look at how much we thrived in last couple of years. But is that really a good thing? Like, the rates were too low in 2020, 2021. Like, and I think a lot that in large part caused where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so it's really wild, just the fact that it's artificially.
But that's again the Fed's fault, man. They're so slow to react. Like,
exactly,
you have to be nimble. You have to be quick. Well,
yeah, and I mean I'm a big laissez-faire believer economy. Like, guiding hand.
To the people who don't understand laissez-faire, explain it.
It's a guiding hand, meaning the market will monitor itself. Like at the end of the day, I said before that supply and demand like runs everything, because at the end of the day, the market will balance everything out. It just needs a soft guiding hand just for some smoother transitions. That's it.
So who's the soft guiding hand? The government?
I mean, in this case, it would be the Fed, yes. But with how our government's set up, it would be the Fed. But I mean, even then, it's not supposed to be manipulating markets with mass buying of bonds with everything that they've been doing.
Well, they've come out and said that too, that they aren't super comfortable with doing this.
Right.
Like, I'm not talking about the hiking of the interest rate, but the mass buying of bonds and carrying like balance sheets and stuff, right?
Right.
So,
what should have happened is by guiding it is actually looking at mortgage fraud back in the 2006-07, cracking down on it then before it got to a point that caused a national disaster in the economy.
Right. So there is places where the government can step in.
Absolutely.
And the government can say, hey, we need to look at this.
Because this can cause a massive issue.
And we need to put some compliance in. I think the compliance that's in place now is a good thing.
Yes. I mean, it could use some tweaking, sure. But like overall, like there needs to be a lot of compliance there.
Well, I think the compliance that's in the mortgage broker channel is a good thing.
Yes.
And I think that there's no compliance for the banks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not nearly as much. They
can do more as far as how much they're charging you.
Right.
And so can the credit unions, and so can the retail lenders. Right. However, there's more compliance now. There's less fraudulent stuff, which is protecting the home value. Right. So that's a good thing. I worry because the people who have to put that compliance in, it seems like a lot of our leaders now are not good leaders.
Yeah.
We need good leaders. I mean, just plain and simple. So, yeah, it's absolutely baffles me. It absolutely baffles me. We are young in this industry still, 13 years. I'll be 13 years, I think, in May, 12 or 13. I can't remember. Probably 12.
Yeah.
12 years in May. We're relatively young. Barry Habib and Dan Savage have so much experience. And they're all saying the same thing, and I'm saying the same thing, and I'm young in the industry, but I have an understanding of economics. There's economists going on these shows, and it's always a crazy scene when they criticize since when is the government good? Since when is the Fed good? Since when is it good for somebody to make decisions for us?
I mean, it's not.
Right.
But that's
what I'm saying. That's the temperature in this country right now is, it's a good thing that we have the Fed here to help us. It's a good thing that we have the government here to help us. It's a good thing that the government's putting in rent controls. What has been the theme of this whole podcast? It's been the government and overextending. It's no longer a guiding hand. It's a push. That's what it is. It's a push in housing when you say, hey, rent control.
You said this earlier, but you know what I believe is the best way to actually benefit an economy and help an economy?
No.
You said this earlier.
I don't know.
Competition.
Right. I'm a competitive person.
That is what will keep people fair.
Right. Because if you screw somebody and they can go next door and get the same service, they're going to go to that person, and then you're going to tell 100 people.
Right.
If you have a good experience, you tell maybe 3 or 4 or 5. If you have a bad experience, you tell 100 people.
But it's still done in a way where the businesses can still be profitable and can still grow, can still employ people. And that's what it all balances itself out if it's done the right way.
Right.
And that's why you just need a very small presence to stop like monopolies or something like that. But like just in a way that there is fair competition.
Right. 100%. And we have lost our way. We have lost our way.
Yeah.
We will find our way again. I'm putting my money on America, right? Every time. The American people, not the American government, the American people, the American dream. I put my money on it 100 times. I might be so damn biased. It's crazy, but we will find our way and we will right this ship and we will continue to prosper. But I think we have to go through a little bit of some bumpy times here. And I think that people have to feel the pain. So but you also said 2023.
Yeah, we kind of got a little off tangent, but yeah, we were going off of.
I just think that it's going to be very market restricted, but
right.
like we are projected in Charlotte region 11% appreciation. I'm going to say that there's going to be some areas that see upward of 20%, because I do think that the rates are going to come back down and you're going to have that mass appreciation again. I've been saying it over and over and over and over. The other piece is I think that you're going to see some winners and losers from a lender standpoint. There's a big name that's either going to be bought out or sell off all their servicing or go out of business. And there's going to be another round of layoffs. I can't say the big name, inside sources, but it's coming. And it's coming soon. And we stand as a company to benefit because there's some people there I've already been talking to. They're coming home, baby. They're coming home. But I can't get into that. But what I can tell you is there's going to be winners and losers, right? I believe that the companies that are the winners are going to be long-term thinkers like ourselves. From a lender standpoint, they're going to be people who are technology-driven, technology-focused.
Right.
I believe that I'm going to tell everybody right now that 5 years from now, there's going to be nobody that's more efficient than NBI Financial Group in the broker channel as far as mortgage brokers. I don't want to do anything else, right? So I don't want to be a lender. I want to be the biggest broker shop in the country. There's already a UWM and a Rocket Mortgage and a Wells Fargo and all these other big time. I want to be the biggest mortgage broker shop in the country. I'm talking 50 states in 5 years, and we are going to do it by being technology-driven 2023 and going forward.
Yeah.
The lenders that are going to win are going to be the technology-driven lenders. Why? Because we're going to be able to get things done extremely efficient. Artificial intelligence. Let's talk about it. Artificial intelligence, and we're going to touch briefly on this. I don't want to go into a long dissertation because we're getting on to our hour, but artificial intelligence is going to be something that drives our business.
Yes.
It's going to drive our content portion of the business. It's going to drive our media portion, our mass communication portion of the business. We are going to be on the cutting edge. And the reason I'm betting on me is because the average age in this industry is 54 years old. Folks, it's time to retire. Daddy's coming home. Seriously. Folks, it's time to retire. Let the kid, listen, same reason we shouldn't have a president that's 105 years old or 78 years old or whatever, right? It's the old man yelling, "Get off my lawn." Well, old man, I'm home. I'm Mike Tyson in his prime. I'm coming for you. I'm going to take what's yours. And that's this industry. But I hope you retire on peaceful terms. I don't wish anything bad, but what I'm saying is we are going to do things differently, and we already are starting to do things differently, and people are starting to see it. I've had conversations today, one after another, of people in this industry, people who are coming to work for us and work with us here at NBI Financial Group, and they're not coming because we're some big-time company that's proven. They're coming because they see the vision.
Did you see that interview between Joe Rogan and Mark Zuckerberg?
No.
Basically, one of the big talking points, Mark Zuckerberg was saying it's a new world since COVID in terms of technology. In terms of technology, it's a new world.
Okay.
So, I mean, granted, he has personal reasons for saying this.
Okay, get to your point.
But I'm just saying, like, everything is so much more technology driven now. I mean, you have so much more telecommunications. There's way more outlets to use technology now, and more people are using them and know about them.
Okay, so here's the deal.
Yeah.
I agree, but I hate Mark Zuckerberg.
Yes.
He's pushing these things that you put on your face that you're in a virtual reality.
He's pushing a literal new world.
Right. So the world has not changed to that extent, and it's not going to, because there's going to be reality and something that's not reality. Humans still need face-to-face, in-person, lovey-dovey, touching, feeling connection to other human beings. It is not good to be isolated like Mark Zuckerberg wants. Where technology has changed is efficiencies have been developed.
Yes.
You can be more efficient without hurt humans in certain roles. Underwriting is going away.
Yes.
Folks, underwriting is going away. Artificial intelligence will take over underwriting. Let me tell you what else is going to go away. Me having to sit here and brainstorm, right? Here's what my fear is, though. You kill creativity with artificial intelligence. So underwriting going away is okay because it's very mechanical. But like chat GPT, awesome product. We're on a waiting list for it. It will help you organize your thoughts. It will help you. There's a lot of things it can help you do. However, sometimes you just need a human going, right? So how that develops, we'll see. But when that comes to lending and when that comes to mortgage, we are going to apply that in sectors of our business where we're going to be extremely, extremely cutting edge where we do it.
Right.
How many broker shops out there are talking about adding 2 different forms of artificial intelligence to their process?
Oh, some already do it, like a bunch.
You think a bunch of broker shops are?
Oh, broker shops, no, lenders.
Right. I said broker shops.
Yeah. Not very many.
Right. So you got to start listening. That's the second time in 2 weeks that you've answered a question incorrectly because you weren't paying attention. What are you thinking about? What were you thinking about that was so important?
I'm paying attention. I just thought you said lender.
I said broker shops.
Okay.
So there's not many. And the reason I'm doing it as a broker shop and not becoming a lender, because I'll do it better than lenders too. There's maybe 1 or 2. I'll tell you what, I know a lot of the people who own mortgage companies, and they're smart. They're good business people. A lot of them do pretty well. But I don't think that they're more creative. I don't think that they're necessarily more driven. Maybe more disciplined at this point in their lives than I am, but that's changing, and that's changing quickly because the discipline is my middle name these days. A lot of them are slow to change, especially as they get bigger. I vow to never be slow to change. The Fed, they're slow to react. I vow to never be slow to react. I would rather fail quickly than fail by not doing anything. And that's kind of what's happening. But 2023 and looking forward, like I said, there's a reckoning coming, and it's coming from me. And I'm going to be making a lot of tough decisions at this place. And when I say tough decisions, I'm not laying people out. I'm not doing that. I'm going to make tough decisions as, should I spend this money on this product? Is it going to be worth it? Will we get the return on investment? Tough decisions. And the answer is going to be, we'll find out very quickly. And we will be very good if it works. And if it doesn't, the path is going to go like this, but we're going to end up here. Right? So any thoughts? I'm about done with this podcast. Do you have any last thoughts? Do you have a Ben's Den?
I do, but I mean, we've been going at it for an hour.
Hit the Ben's Den.
So you want to?
You have to. But first,
you need to hit that red subscribe button. And like all our social media pages. That is you what?
Turn on your notifications.
Turn on your notifications. And follow us on all social medias. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn,
TikTok.
We're huge
YouTube. On TikTok. I'm blowing up.
Are you?
So are you. You're all over it. You don't even know.
I have no idea.
So, yeah, no, it's really good. But, and then follow us on our personal pages. I'm Czar of Mortgage on everything, and you're
Big Boss Ben.
Big Boss Ben. We're branding.
We are. So, Ben's Den. So wanted to kind of get into a little bit of why I am passionate about it. That's kind of what I talk about most times, but mentioned looking at Mortgage Coach and Dan Savage. One thing that he is big on, and this is something I've come it's become very personal to me, is the financial literacy crisis going on right now.
Huge.
It's 78% of adults live paycheck to paycheck. 3 out of 5 adults don't have a budget. People just don't pay attention to the financials, and that's such a big, important part to their family. Like, and we look at what we do for a living. Like, we guide, we educate, like we help correct this. We show people options like that. If you sit here and say, oh, your job as a loan officer is to get someone the best rate. No. If your job as a loan officer is to tell people exactly what they should do. No. Your job is to educate, teach, show different options, and show them what they're deciding on. So in essence, this is what we do.
Right. We teach.
Right. So I mean, I'm looking here, there's 17 states that have any sort of financial classes.
Only 17.
Only 17.
So not even half of them.
Right. So most of them don't teach anything. So someone graduates from high school, goes into the real world. They don't know anything about taxes, about interest. How are you supposed to live? Like, that's the most important thing that you should learn. That's how you're going to feed your kids. That's how you're going to pay for your rent. That's how you're going to understand the basics of economics, so you can vote and decide on these people who are giving you these headlines that are extremely misleading because you don't understand the why behind things,
or don't care enough to look.
Right. Like, it's at the end of the day, like I said, I mean, you need to understand why you're doing things and what your goal is. And this is probably my biggest goal, is educate people to help solve this crisis.
And it is a crisis. It absolutely is. I think that's absolutely fair. Like, that is spot on. Our job is not to sell rate. Our job is not to sell you and push you into a mortgage. Our job, and I tell everyone this, I am a tool for you to help decide what is best for your family.
Yeah.
That's all I am. I'm not going to push you. I'm not going to tell you right now. And you know this personally. I don't like to work with realtors that are pushing people into a transaction.
Right.
It makes me uncomfortable, and I tell them, hey, like, I'm going to give them their financial options, and then they're going to decide if they can afford that or not. They're going to decide. But here's the other piece. You mentioned something. How many families don't have a budget, so you don't know where your money's going, right?
3 out of 5.
I did an article. That's crazy. I did an article review on TikTok, and let me see where it is. It was actually, somebody responded to a comment. Most people can't afford one home, let alone a second, and they can't outbid a corporation, is what they said. Because I was talking in my video about wealth through real estate, right? And they're like, most people can't afford this. Most people can't afford that. Most people don't understand what they can afford.
Right.
Because they don't keep a budget. 3 out of 5 people don't keep a budget. They don't understand what they can afford. How many people do you think pull up their bank statements and see where their money's going? Let me tell a personal story. My wife and I were discussing our budget, and she does an absolutely awesome job. Shout out, Liz. If you ever watch this show, you do an absolutely awesome job of making sure our money goes to a certain place. You know this. I'm living extremely tight right now because I'm putting all of the business assets back into the business to grow the business, right? You're living extremely tight as well because we're growing the business. It doesn't mean we're broke, folks. We're not broke. We live great lives, right? You might be broke, but I ain't broke. I'm a big producer. I'm messing with you. But what I'm saying is, she said, hey, Nick, we need to change this behavior because look at how much money we spent here. She went through and she wrote down all the transactions. We spent a little bit too much money in December.
Yeah.
Because Christmas time, buying people gifts. I drank booze probably 3 out of every fucking 5 nights. I was like the illiterate financial people. 3 out of 5 nights, pounding them back, right? But that's what I do around the holiday times. I have a good time. And then I get back into it. I start the grind, and usually by the 2nd or 3rd week of January, I'm running now. Like, look at this place. We're running now. Because the last few weeks of the year, I take off. The first few weeks of the year, I build every year. And then by March and April, I'm booming, right? And that's just how I am and how I have been in this industry for a while. And I do it on purpose. I'm not like taking it off, but I'm cleaning up the last few weeks of the year. And then I'm building what my vision is and that I thought about in the last few weeks, right? So she said, Nick, look how much money we're spending here. We need to stop that. I said, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's not spend any money there. She's like, well, maybe we should do this much there. Let's not spend any money there for 10 months. It was a large chunk of money. You'd be surprised. I'll tell you personally what it is afterwards. I don't want people judging me. So, and it wasn't alcohol, folks, or weed. Neither of those. So I said, okay, absolutely. We'll stop spending there. Let's just cut it out completely. We don't have to cut it out forever completely because it's something we enjoy doing, but let's cut it out for now. And let's take that money for the next 12 months and put it into a separate bank account, and then let's buy a rental property because it'll be enough for a down payment on a rental property. So I saw that comment that I just read on TikTok, and I'm like, people are so blind to what they're doing with their finances that they're costing themselves long-term wealth.
Right.
Plain and simple. Don't be blind to your finances. Make a budget. Know where the money's going. I always say step one is to have a plan. What's your plan? I think I might be wrong on that, though. Step one is to have a goal. Step two is to create a plan.
Step one, I think, is to actually look at your budget and look at where your money's going.
You do this thing where you jump too far down the line.
Then make a plan. How are you going to make a plan when you don't know where?
Why are you going to look at your money if you don't have a goal? Step one is a goal, a dream, a vision.
Okay.
Step two is the plan, and you make the plan based because you need to know how much money you need to make that plan work. Do you look at your bank account first, or do you build the business plan first? You build the business plan first because then you're pricing things out, you're seeing what I'm going to need, you're coming up with a plan, and then you set your budget, which is part of the plan.
Yeah.
Which affects your bank account, right? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
Like, I understand why you react, right? That's a common trait. You like to react. Maybe you don't like it. Maybe that's a bad word. But do you react? Are you a reactive person? Yes. A reactive person says, okay, I have this much money. What can I do with it? A proactive person says, I have this plan. How much money do I need?
Well, it's not that. It's here's where the money's going. Where can I cut back? What can I cut? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I was.
But you have to have the goal first, and then you have to understand. So I guess you could maybe flip.
What do I change?
What do I change? Right. So the goal and the plan says, like, so say you're trying to start a restaurant or buy an investment property. You're trying to buy an investment property. Let's do that. $100,000 investment property, 20% down is what?
100,000, 20,000 down, 80,000.
So $80,000 loan amount, $20,000 down payment, right? So I want to buy a $100,000 investment property. I want to rent it out. The mortgage on that's going to be, say, $864. I can get $1,200 in rent if it's a 3-bedroom property. How do I do that? I need $20,000. I need my credit score to be here. How do I get $20,000? Well, I make this much money a month. This is what my bills are. It's so on and so forth. That's my plan. And then I have to say, okay, well, I'm going to restaurants and spending $1,000 a month. Let me change that. How many people do you think spend $1,000 a month on restaurants?
Probably more than you think.
Do you know if you go out to eat 5 days a week for lunch and you spend $12, which is probably right around where you're spending, if not more.
Probably more nowadays.
So let's call
inflation.
Right. So we're going to call it $12 though, because I've already done the math in my head. That's $70 a week if you do that 5 days a week. That's $280 a month. That's $280 a month.
And that's just lunch for one person.
That's just lunch for one person. You saw me in here before this podcast. I went to our kitchen, I heated up leftovers, and I ate them at this table. I ate that same meal 3 times this week. 3 times in 5 days. Once for lunch, twice for dinner. I will eat leftovers for lunch tomorrow. And I will spend maybe $12 total on those 5 meals. You know what I'm saying? Like, $12 total on those 5 meals. You spent $70 on 5 meals, which turns into $280 if you go by yourself. If you go by yourself, and let's count the gas to get there, right? Because if you get 15 miles, you drive 5 miles. Like, I have a truck, so I get like less than 15 miles a gallon. So if I drive to a restaurant and back, right? We're talking about $12, $15. So that's $85 in a week on eating out.
Yeah.
Right? And then you multiply that by 4. That's over $320. So $320, that's $3,600 a year. That's just off of eating out at lunches. Now, what happens if you get home on the weekend and you say, oh, let me take the wife and kids out to dinner tonight, right? At dinner, I'm going to have a couple cocktails. My wife's going to have a glass of wine. So 3 drinks. The kids are going to get a soda or a juice. You just spent $150 plus tip.
Yeah.
So now you're doing that, say 4 times a month. On the low end, I bet you most Americans eat out more than 4 times a month. On the low end, now you're at, let's just call it 800 and let's see. We'll call it $800. The 320 plus the 400, we'll say $100 on the low end, $100 a week, taking the family out. So now you're at $800, right?
Right.
So you've now just spent $800 monthly. That's like what, $10K a year?
Yeah.
That's if you only go out 4 times with the family. How about this? The 23-year-old kid who's super broke but spends $100 a night on a Friday and a Saturday at a bar drinking beer. What do you want more? Do you want to drink that beer and have those memories, or do you want to have an investment property and when you're in your 40s retire and live a great life with some wealth?
If you're young and drink a lot, take 1 month off and look at your bank account. You will be amazed.
Ben knows.
I did it in college.
Right.
It's wild.
I was in college. I didn't have any money, so I don't know about that. But do it when you're a young adult for sure. But what I'm getting at is that comment was most can't afford 1, let alone 2. Well, you could afford 1, right? If you looked and had some financial literacy, which Ben's Den was talking about.
Right.
Have the financial literacy to understand, like, hey, this is not working.
Right.
So that's all I'm getting at. Like, it is possible. You have to make sacrifices. No one says, hey, you're going to own a bunch of houses. It's going to be super easy. Hey, you're going to buy a home. It's going to be easy. Nothing's easy. Anything that comes in life that's good is not easy.
And to understand, and to understand debt, like, is another thing.
Right.
Like, I mean, it's a tool. And we always say mortgage, especially a mortgage over 30 years, is a great tool.
Let's look at that, though, in a vacuum, right? So mortgages are good because it's low interest that you can get a home out
over a long term. Doesn't hurt your cash flow.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it does hurt your cash flow because you're paying something, but it's a tool.
Yes.
Credit card debt is not a tool.
Yes.
That's bad debt.
Yes.
23% interest rates on good credit score people on credit cards right now, right? So it's just one of those things.
Right. Exactly. Or you have, I mean, these 3-year loans too, where you have
payday loans, cash advance loans. Like, you want to talk about, I have said this for years, and this is going to go into a little bit of next week, what we're talking about with like this, so next week, folks, we're going to be talking about appraisal discrimination in housing, the history of discrimination in housing, and, how do we fix it?
Yeah.
Well, I believe financial literacy. Financial literacy solves a lot of problems, right?
It does.
So if you go into a low-income area and you teach people financial literacy and show them what they can actually do and one of the things that amazed me when I was a kid was if you save 1 penny a day, right? So day 1, you save 1 penny. Day 2, you save 2 pennies. Day 3, you save 3 pennies. How much that adds up to over a course of time, right? And you do that every single day, and then you save 365 pennies by day 365, right? So what's the math on that? That's a lot of damn pennies, right? And then you keep doing that over and over and over. But then you take that, the other thing that amazed me was compounding investments.
Right.
That's what housing is.
Yeah.
Because appreciation is almost like compounding, right? So your house is worth $200 this year. It's worth $212 next year. It's worth how much after that, right?
You put $5,000 a year into a Roth IRA from when you're 23 years old. By the time you're 65, it's worth over $2 million.
Right.
That's just $5,000 a year.
Right. And most people spend more than $5,000 a year on restaurants.
Right. So So that's that's less than $100,000 total that you put into it.
Do you know how much fun it is to learn how to cook well?
Oh, it's a lot of fun.
Right. So learn to cook well and stop going to restaurants. Go
Right.
to restaurants sometimes, support local business, but budget. Look at a budget. But that's all I got. I just thought that I wanted to add my comments, my 2 cents on, that your Ben's Den reminded me of something I said on TikTok that got a lot of criticism. And that's what they were saying. Basically, you're pushing back and saying I'm out of touch with reality, saying people should own multiple pieces of real estate. But you got to think, my message, 3 out of every 5 Americans is going to think is out of touch with reality, right?
Right.
Because they don't understand, they have no financial literacy. But do you have anything else?
I do not.
I don't either. Thank you all for coming and watching NBI Financial Group, the Lone Guys podcast. brought to you live in the Campo Media Group studios. We will be live every Wednesday from 8 to 9 p.m. We're still having some technology issues, which is why we weren't live this week. But don't forget to bang that red subscribe button, pound on that little bell to turn on your notifications so you know that every single time that we post a video. Every single time that we post a video, you will know if you bang that red subscribe button and turn on your notifications. And also, if you comment your thoughts on what you thought about this full podcast in the comment section and put your Instagram handle, you have a shot to win a $100 Amazon gift card. So please go do that and follow us at NBI Financial Group LLC on all of our platforms. That's pretty much every single social media you can think of: Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. We're NBI Financial Group. You'll find clips of this. You'll find fun facts. You'll find first-time home buyer tips. You'll find all kinds of great information on our social media. So please go ahead and follow us there. Big Boss Ben on his personal, Czar of Mortgage on my personal. We appreciate all of you. We're out. Peace!